My name is Shriya, and this is my research presentation. So first, what does my research surround upon? When trying to find a research topic last summer, I wanted to focus on something that I was interested in and I knew a lot about so I can be interested throughout the whole year with it. So when I was looking at this, it immediately clicked in my mind to focus on this one specific topic, which was fast fashion. So what is fast fashion? According to a study by Cashon and Sweeney, a fast fashion system combines quick response production capabilities with enhanced product design capabilities to both design hot products that capture the latest consumer trends and exploit minimal production lead times to match supply with uncertain demand. In simpler terms, fast fashion is all about creating affordable, trendy clothing that's constantly changing, making it easier for consumers to purchase for something that's the latest look without breaking the bank and spending a lot of money. This system works by minimizing production lead times, meaning new styles are constantly being made in stock and the inventory is frequently refreshed to keep pace with the changing times. So now that we discussed what my topic is, I just want to say some brief thoughts on why I chose this topic. So personally, I'm a big follower of fashion in today's times and an avid user of Pinterest. This is an example of my board with all the outfits that I like to see. Using Pinterest, I like to look at inspiration of outfits, and this got me interested in the idea of choosing fashion. In terms of fast fashion, however, when I was picking my research topic, I recalled a documentary I watched last year called Brandy Melville and the Cult of Fast Fashion. I remember that I clicked on this documentary because I am a very avid consumer of Brandy Melville, a shopping brand. And I was surprised that there was a negative aspect to this brand. And when I watched this documentary, it was an eye-opener for me that there was this brand was such a large fast fashion brand. And it also showed a clear representation of the genuine negative effects that fast fashion has on this world today. And it led me to finalize my topic on fast fashion. So what about fast fashion has not been researched or studied yet? So after picking this topic, I need to pick a lens to focus on. There's been so much research on the environmental aspect, the economic aspect, and the historical aspect of fast fashion. But after taking a deeper dive into researching, I found that there was no psychological lens relating to this issue. So the psychological lens allowed me to ask questions like, why do people buy into fast fashion? How do fast fashion brands entice consumers to buy into their brands? And what makes fast fashion more special than other brands? This led me to my research question. How do personal values related to sustainability and ethics influence the decision-making process of consumers when shopping for fast fashion? After this, I made my hypothesis. Consumers who place a high importance on sustainability and ethical values are less likely to purchase fast fashion products and are more likely to seek out alternatives that align with their personal belief. By exploring this hypothesis, I can examine how these values shape consumer behavior and whether they drive individuals to support brands that promote ethical practices, environmental responsibilities, and fair labor conditions. It helps to highlight the tensions between consumer convenience and personal values in an era dominated by fast-paced trends. So going on to my methodology, I chose to do a survey-based approach. I would like to send out a large-scale survey to multiple people, ranging from mostly high school students to a few adults. Participants will be asked to answer questions relating to the participants' frequency of purchases, their knowledge of sustainability issues, and the significance of ethical considerations in their choices. I chose a survey-based approach for a methodology because it allows me to gather data from a large and diverse group of people, giving me a broader understanding of consumer behavior. By sending out a survey to all these participants, from mostly high school students to a few adults, I can capture different perspectives across various age groups. This helps me identify any trends or differences between how sustainability and ethics influence shopping habits across demographic groups. So moving on to my subject ratio, after filling out my survey, it appeared that 65% of my survey respondents were NBTHS students, the 25% were other high school students, and 10% were about adults, so 21 plus. I chose to have this range of people, like I said before, because I want a diverse range of perspectives on my issue. And having this will provide insights of attitudes and behaviors of not only high school students, but also adults as well. And also using people from other high schools doesn't limit the high school students to only one high school, but also gives a good example from other high schools as well. Next, I had to obtain permission from parents for the high school students because they are minors, and conducting research involves minors requires a parental consent. This ensures that their participation is voluntary and that their guardians are informed about the nature of their research. Parental consent is an ethical and legal requirement to protect the students and ensure that the data collected is used responsibly, so I made sure that this was one thing that I made sure to do before my participants filled out my survey. By securing this permission, I also created a transparent process that respects the rights of the participants and their families. So now I'm going to explain each aspect of my survey. So just at the top here, I have just a brief description of my research and my topic on fast fashion. And next, I have just to list out their name and if they're a high school student, so I can distinguish between if they're an adult and a high school student. Next, I asked if they gave consent, just once again, just so they can give my response back. And then I started with my actual questions. So the first question is, do you buy clothing items on a regular basis? And I made sure to specify that's within the last month if they bought any items. This is so I can know if they bought anything in the last month and if they're a frequent buyer, which is what I want to see. Next, I put a question, and it's, do you buy clothes or any items from the brands listed below? And please select all that apply. So the brands I listed are H&M, Zara, Gap, Shein, Temu, Forever 21, ASOS, Fashion Nova, Urban Outfitters, Mango, and Uniqlo. These brands are heavily fast fashion brands, especially the ones on the top. They're the most listed fast fashion brands that are out there, which is why I want to see if these people have bought in clothes from these brands before and have frequently bought it from there. My next question is gearing to the fast fashion aspect. Do you believe that you have a good understanding of the goals of fast fashion? My overall goal is to discuss if these people have a good understanding but are still buying from these fast fashion brands, knowing that there's a negative effect. And my next question is, when shopping for clothing, which factors are most important to you? This is one of the most important questions I asked on my survey. I wanted them to rank them in their opinion from the most to least important. The first ranking is price, then style and trends, then brand reputation, then sustainability and environmental impact, and then ethical labor practices. They all listed out their response here. I'll discuss what my results came from this and how it affected my research. So the next question is, how familiar are you with the term fast fashion? And that's very familiar, somewhat familiar, heard of it but not sure what it means, or not familiar at all. Next question, have you ever heard or learned about the effects of fast fashion before? Just a simple yes or no. And do you believe fast fashion contributes to environmental issues? Again, yes strongly, yes somewhat, and no. I'll be discussing the results from this and how this also impacted my research. Next, these are the last two questions. How important is it to you that clothes you buy are made sustainably? Very important, somewhat important, not very important, or not at all important. And lastly, this is also a big question. Have you ever stopped buying from a fast fashion brand due to concerns about sustainability or ethics? Yes, no, or considering it. So now I'm going to talk about just my responses. So analyzing the responses where participants chose specific brands listed here helped to identify which fast fashion brands are most popular among consumers, particularly in relation to their purchasing behavior. Fast fashion brands like H&M, Zara, and Shein, and Forever 21 are commonly associated with rapid production cycles and trend-driven low-cost clothing. By analyzing which fast fashion brands participants are purchasing from, I can gain insight to how these particular companies are influencing consumer choices, especially regarding sustainability and ethical considerations. So as you can see here, almost all of the survey respondents have listed that they bought in from at least H&M and Zara, and of course Gap, showing that these people have bought from fast fashion brands. They also listed that they do have a good understanding, or some have, some haven't. It's kind of varied here. Now this is my ranking. So this is where all the respondents had said in their ranking. While price and style were often ranked 1 and 2, or first and second, for most important, many respondents still place sustainability and ethical labor as important middle to high priorities, often ranked 3rd and 5th. Over here, 4th and 5th, for most of them. A few participants listed ethical labor and sustainability as their top priorities, as listed as the bottom response here, where they put 5 and 4 as their most important, ranked above price and style. So what this shows is that although fast fashion appeals due to low prices and trendy styles, a segment of consumers consciously consider sustainability and labor ethics, aligning with my hypothesis. So this is just some patterns. So as I said before, price and style was usually listed most important, while sustainability and environmental impact were usually 4th or 5th place. So for these questions here, I'm going to go in depth. Many respondents answered yes or considering it when asked, have you ever stopped buying from fast fashion brands due to concerns about sustainability or ethics? That's over here. Those who ranked sustainability and ethics higher were more likely to have already stopped buying or were considering doing so. What this shows is that there's a correlation between placing value on sustainability and ethics and taking action, supporting the idea that personal values directly influence consumer decisions. Responses to how important is it to you that the clothes you made were sustainably made show a strong trend between somewhat important or very important. Those who found it very important often answered yes to have stopped buying from fast fashion brands. What this shows is that consumers who care about sustainability tend to align their purchasing behavior with these values, furthering reinforcing my hypothesis. So what this shows is that based on my results, my hypothesis was proven to be correct. Consumers who are more familiar with fast fashion impacts and rank sustainability ethics highly are more likely to change or reconsider their purchasing decisions. The data clearly shows a clear pattern. As values around ethics and sustainability increase in importance, the willingness to engage with fast fashion decreases. So now I'm going to go into my limitations. So there were a few limitations within my research. I didn't have the desired amount of survey responses I wanted. I had about 16 responses. This was due to time restraints and also due to my parental consent form not being signed at the right time. But I still was able to gather the data I wanted to have. It's just it would have been more desirable to have a larger amount. Subject variability, most of the people were high school students, and there was very few adults, almost 10%, like I said before. So if I had a larger variability in terms of the subjects, that probably would have been a more better way of getting my research. And lastly, social desirability bias is a big one. People might have clicked 4 and 5, sustainability and ethics, to be ranked higher just because they feel as though that's the correct answer to have, and they desire that as to be a good person, that they think sustainability and ethics are more higher than price and style. So that also was a little biased. And also, I wanted to do an interview process as well, but I wasn't able to do that due to time restraints. So having a one-on-one interview with some of the people would have been better, so I can personally connect with them if they had something to do with the research. Lastly, just implications and future research. Growing awareness, starting with implications, growing awareness could shift the industry. It can spread awareness on the research that we already have out, and there's room for innovation in ethical fashion. And for future research, I would have a greater variety of responders and more respondents, and make the questions to not allow for any social desirability process bias, which is the one question that had them rank. So I would change that a bit so that they wouldn't have any lingering thoughts. So here are all the sources that I used throughout my research, and they helped a lot with gaining my responses and making my survey. And yeah, thank you so much for listening to my research.
Okay. Which lens or perspective did you find the most pertinent in information to your research? How did you decide what pieces of information to incorporate?
So in terms of the lens that I saw a lot was the economic aspect, the economic lens. It was because that in other countries, in third world countries, all of these labor practices, unfair labor practices are used, which drops the economic aspect. And there were so many research papers on this topic based on the economical lens. So I used those to kind of gear my gap into the psychological lens instead, since I want to focus on something that is not already out there.
Thank you.
How might your conclusions, findings, or products relate to the current body of work in the community or field?
So this is like my conclusions that I made, and right here is my hypothesis. So basically, due to my research, now there's a psychological aspect to this, and how people are gearing into buying these fast fashion brands and why they're buying into these brands is now there's now research to that. So putting that into the current research on the economic aspect, the historical aspect, the environmental aspect, that can help and shift the change for ethical fashion and have a more positive aspect on ethical fashion, which can change our current times today to more fair labor practices and everything like that.
Okay. How has your views changed about the nature of your inquiry as you have completed the research process? Are you still interested in this topic?
So I definitely am still interested in this topic. My views have changed. I genuinely thought I had a very broad, before this, I had a very broad understanding of fast fashion. As I said before, I watched a documentary and I was like, wow, this is such a negative thing on our world. Why is this happening? But now that I really dove deep into this research, it genuinely changed my thinking on how this is such a bad thing and how we can change our world into being more ethical in terms of our labor practices, in terms of our consumers, on how we can shift into a more sustainable and ethical way of making fashion, making clothes for our people today.
Any other questions from the audience at all? Panelists? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.